Hi, I'm State Representative Travis Weaver.
And I'm State Representative Nicole.
And we're today's hosts for Table Topics. So the way this is going to work is we have 5 different cue cards here. They each have a different question. I'm going to present Representative Laha with the stack. She'll pick one, and we'll just ask each other questions to help you get up to speed on what's going on in this week's veto session.
With this one. All right. Do you want to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
One big topic right now is about lowering the temperature of political rhetoric. Here in Illinois, we've seen our governor repeatedly use inflammatory rhetoric. How has extreme political rhetoric and division impacted you in your work on a personal level?
Well, personally, it's really impacted me and my family. It's no longer agree to disagree in today's political climate, and I think that's something really sad. We're in charge of the rhetoric. We set that tone, we set that temperature, and we need to hold ourselves to higher standards, and I think it's really important that we actually do that. I think when we start to dehumanize politicians just because we think differently, we've crossed a line. We're all here to do a job and serve our districts, and holding ourselves to really high standards, I think, goes a long way.
Yeah, I just was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience with Matthew McConaughey on it, and they were talking about how when you look at our political leaders across the country, it's hard to find men and women that you can say to your kids, I want you to grow up and be like him. I want you to grow up and be like her.
Right.
And I'm proud to serve with people like you because if I ever had a daughter, I'd be so delighted to say, I want you to grow up and be like Representative Laha. And I think it starts off with having character, leading in the way that you want to pass on to the next generation, remembering, just like you were telling me before we started filming with your daughter, the kids are always listening, they're always watching what you do.
That's right.
And they're going to emulate you. Okay.
All right, I think it's your turn.
Bring it on.
All right, I'm going to mix these up a little because I want to make you a little nervous. Let's see, here we go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, let's see what this one says.
Okay. All right. We just spent our summers in district.
Yep.
What were the top issues mentioned to you by your constituents?
Easy. Number one, energy bills. Illinoisans are just getting crushed on their energy bills due to CEJA policy passed by Illinois Democrats. And here we are in veto session, right back at the table to do more of it. Stat that I frequently use is when Governor Pritzker came into office, Illinois was ranked number 27 in energy affordability. Today, 6 years later, we rank 36th in energy affordability, which means every year under his leadership, we're falling a place or two behind. And that's just killer because, for lower middle income families that used to have $200 left at the end of the month and they could take their kids out or their wife out and go on a family date night. Now that's your power bill. You don't have that anymore. And families that were just breaking even are now falling behind, and that results in credit card debt or lower standard of living all across the board. So energy, number one. Property taxes, always number two. It's always top of the heat. Just yesterday, my wife and I were kind of looking at some different houses, and a friend of hers recently just bought a house in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that house cost about 25% more than the houses that we're looking at, and has half the property tax of what we're looking at here in the state of Illinois. It's just crushing. I mean, we do have more affordable home values here in Illinois, but it's because we're just getting crippled on our property taxes. I mean, a property tax in Illinois is basically like having a second mortgage against a house. So we got to get spending in line to get that under
Absolutely.
control.
That's the number one issue in my district, hands down, is property tax and the concern over taxation and, possibly seeing a delivery tax and all those things is really, really scaring people. And I don't blame them. It scares me as well and my family. So.
Just as we were discussing, Democrats proposed a service tax during our spring session, which thankfully didn't pass. Did you expect this idea will come back? And what are your thoughts if the proposal returns to the General Assembly?
Yeah, I mean, we're waiting today, right? That remains to be seen. The delivery tax is absolutely something that I don't support. I think of our special needs individuals with disabilities, our seniors, where this delivery tax is really just going to nail them. And to me, I think it's something that I don't disagree that we need to fix transportation, but not at the cost of some of our most vulnerable.
Yeah, I think it's just totally bad operational management that we're expecting downstate suburbs, even Cook County, Chicago itself, to be on the hook for bailing out this transit issue. A $700 million a year problem. That's not $700 million in one-time debt. It's an annual operating deficit. And they're coming to the till for people in my district and refusing to look at fare increases, refusing to address the problem of crime in the system, and refusing, this is the worst one in my opinion, to get their operational house in order so that instead of being staffed at an appropriate level, they're paying people double what they ought to be paying because they're working double and triple overtime.
Well, even in this process, they saw some discrepancies that helped cut it back a little bit. So I think this is moving a little too fast. I'm hopeful that we're not pushing it through this week in the 2 days that we have here. This is something that needs a real long-lasting solution, and Band-Aids over this cut is not gonna suffice.
Yeah, and I'd also just note for listeners that it's proposed now as a delivery tax, but they also propose it as a services tax,
right.
which would take Illinois from not having a services tax to have one of the 7 highest services taxes in the country. Overnight, we're already taxed to death. We talked about property taxes, our state income tax, our corporate income tax, our sales tax, our gas tax, taxed to death, and now services just one more to add on top of that pile.
I pick one for you,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Okay, wait.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, here we
Here
go.
it comes.
Here we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
One of the big topics for veto session is addressing our energy crisis, which we already chatted about. What would you like to see in an energy-related bill, and how have skyrocketing energy bills affected your district?
Yeah, well, I discussed, it affects everybody, not only from people trying to locate here to give good jobs, but also any family. No family is safe from this. My June bill was the most expensive bill I've ever had until my July bill, and then my September bill broke those records.
Yeah.
So we're all feeling this. So we got to get that under control. Unfortunately, the solution is simple. It's supply and demand economics. The Pritzker administration took 3,400 megawatts of power offline, enough power to provide energy for 700,000 households. So in economics, you restrict supply, demand goes up, prices go up in a big way. You've got to keep supply and demand in line. So to me, it's very simple. We've got to break the caps on our natural gas peaker plants. We've got to stop shutting down some of the world's cleanest coal and natural gas plants. And we've got to get serious about a transition over to nuclear energy. Produce more supply, prices come down.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Well, the bill that we're currently looking at, this energy bill, and I'm getting a lot of constituent emails and concerns and questions about it. It's just not it right now. There are some red herrings in there. There's some good things in there, but the issues are going to be there's no consumer protection in this bill as is, and that's what we're trying to do. Is we need to make sure that our consumers, our constituents, aren't getting taxed to death. More skyrocketing prices. There's no caps in this current bill that we're seeing, and that's extremely problematic. Last one.
Our last one. What are you expecting for the final days of veto session in Springfield this week? I know we've covered a lot of them, but let's see what else is on your mind.
Wow. I think, I don't even know where to go with this, because last week we were here ready to work. We didn't see a whole lot of anything. We saw a lot of grandstanding. A lot of opinion pieces with House resolutions. I hope we're ready to go this week. I hope we have some legislation that actually will impact our families and good legislation, but I'm not holding my breath for that. I think we'll see some transit possibly popping up. I think we're going to see some energy popping up. There's talks of Tier 2 coming around, and it'll be interesting to see which committees we have when we gavel in, and that kind of gives us a little bit of a sneak peek of what we might see in the next 2 days.
Yeah, I just caught wind yesterday of this resurgence of the Tier 2 pension, which is scary because Illinois has the nation's worst, most unfunded pension liability, $170 billion, worse than any other state, worse than all of our Midwest neighbors combined. And so it's $170 billion in unfunded pension debt. This single bill would be another $80 billion on top of that. That's why Illinois has the nation's worst credit rating. 50 states, we've got the worst credit rating because we've got this giant unfunded pension liability hung around our neck. So earlier we talked about property taxes.
Right.
Well, those are high because of our pension liability. So our biggest complaints, property taxes, Democrats are going to make that worse. Energy prices, Democrats are going to make that worse. And on top of all that, potentially brand new taxes with a delivery fee and a services fee that we don't even have yet.
We know our districts. We're hearing what our constituents are asking for, and I think I don't take that lightly. They want no new taxes. They want to make sure that they are able to afford their cost of living. Another thing that we've seen a topic is redistricting of congressional maps or district maps. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought it up because just this morning in Politico, I read that Hakeem Jeffries' messaging is that Illinois needs to be doing redistricting now so that we can have more voter certainty. To say that we're going to give more certainty by changing the congressional maps less than a year before the election is set to take place after the petitions have already been filed
Yeah.
for people to be on the ballot. It's just absolutely absurd. And then you remember on top of that, I know I'm long-winded on this one, but Illinois, about 45% of the people vote Republican. And here we are with 17% of our congressional representation as Republican.
Right.
So again, to this no kinks thing, please spare me. If you're for democracy, if you're for fair representation, we should probably have 2 or 3 more Republican seats in
Right,
Illinois.
exactly. And I don't support gerrymandered maps, on either side. I want fair representation, and because if we're not doing that, that means people don't have a voice. That means they're not being represented in the way that I feel they should be. So fair maps is definitely would change a lot of things in the state of Illinois. And all they have to do is go look yourself and look at these congressional maps, look at these districts, and it's pretty hard to ignore. And so, I would really hate to see something like this pushed through. I'm hearing people on both sides don't want something like this, and so I guess that remains to be seen this week.
Well, all Governor Pritzker has to do is remain true to his word, because when he was just candidate Pritzker, he said that he would veto any map that was not a fairly drawn map.
Right.
He broke that promise in 2020, and here he stands to go even further beyond breaking that promise.
Right.
Well, I'm looking forward to see what happens in the next few days. I'm honored to serve with you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, we're in this together, right?
Yeah.
And we'll do our best for our constituents.
Yeah.
Hey, high five. Awesome.